Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Say hello to your fellow members in the chat. As our welcome committee, Stacy and maybe Reggie and Heather is here. Guys, this is a friendly room. I'm your host, Rachel Elnar. I'm on the AIGA National Board. And welcome to the session of the Practical Institute for Creative Survival, the monthly member series designed to help creatives survive their jobs with a little more clarity and a little less burnout. So a quick note up front. As you can guess, this is not a real academic institution. There are no credits, there are no grades, there's no final exam. But the intent is very real. The series exists to support designers as work actually exists today. Messy org charts, unclear leadership paths, shrinking teams, bigger expectations, and the constant question of what now? It was created by the AIGA board to focus on practical skills, shared learning, and helping members feel a little less alone while navigating their careers. So, hello to everybody joining us today. I see Bernardo is here. It's great to see you. And Christine is here. Hey, Terry, Liliana from Texas, Emily from Maine, and Reggie is here. Hey, Reggie, John from Palm Springs. It's great to see everyone. So, let's talk about what is ahead. All right, the class that you're in right now is Design 0126, What It Takes to Lead. Today's session is all about what leadership actually looks like for designers, not the title, not the org chart, but the day-to-day reality. And we're talking about how designers lead inside real organizations, what it takes to grow influence without formal authority, and why so many designers feel stuck, and what you can start doing now to move forward. Our instructor today is Andy Epstein, principal at Evangelist. Andy is a longtime design leader, consultant, and the author of The Corporate Creative. He's spent years working with and managing creative teams inside complex organizations and helping designers figure out how to lead, grow, and survive inside systems that were built with them in mind. And today's lesson plan is this. So we're going to have a few member spotlights. Then we'll go into Andy's lesson. Surprise pop quiz, which at this moment is no longer a surprise. And then we'll have a Q&A with Andy. And of course, if you guys have questions, just drop them into the chat and we'll ask Andy to address them. And yes, this session is being recorded. You'll be able to watch this replay here in Contrast after we wrap up. And guess what? This series is about more than just content. It's about community. So let's learn about some AIGA members. All right. So we're going to get into some member spotlights, and leading us through the AIGA member spotlights is Lauren Yanko. Lauren is a former AIGA President's Council chair and a fellow board member who's spent years supporting this community and lifting up the people who make it what it is. So we're going to welcome Lauren Yanko. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you for such a kind introduction.
It's good to see you. So happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Yeah, I'm so excited to see everyone. I love the chat that's happening over in the chat. And I'm also really happy about this very important topic that is near and dear to me that we're going to be discussing today.
Amazing. All right. So let's get into the member spotlight.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm really excited about these, but we're continuing a long AIGA tradition of recognizing the people who shape this organization. And we asked some of our members, why has being part of AIGA mattered to you? So first up, we have Victoria Hart, experiential and graphic designer at Pink Kitty Creative and a member of AIGA Las Vegas. For Victoria, the value of AIGA is clear. She says, AIGA matters because it protects, elevates, and advances the design profession, period. With more than 40 years in the industry, she also talks about what keeps her engaged. I love meeting the younger generation, sharing my knowledge, but mostly learning from them. I couldn't agree more, Victoria. Next up is Eric Cargill, owner of 32 Frames Per Second and a member of AIGA Seattle. Eric describes AIGA as a place he turns to when it matters most. AIGA is where I go when I need community. After an 8-year hiatus, Eric recently returned to the AIGA Seattle board. He explains why that felt important. Design needs community now more than ever, and everyone deserves a place to land. I'm personally so excited that AIGA Seattle is being revived. When I was on the board of AIGA Boston, we always looked to them for inspiration, and we even tried to be a little competitive with them in events we were producing and membership we were growing. So I'm so happy that they're back in action. All right, our final member spotlight this month is Matt Dombrowski, Creative Director at Limitless Solutions and a member of AIGA Orlando. Matt sees AIGA as a connector between learning and practice. He says, AIGA Orlando is a bridge between the design classroom and the professional design world. And for him, that connection is about more than careers. It's about fostering a collaborative ecosystem where education, innovation, and community impact connect. If you haven't seen Matt's work at Limitless Solutions, you should definitely check it out. It will make you cry. These member spotlights are nominated by AIGA chapter leaders. We're grateful for the care that they take in lifting up people from their local communities. If you are interested in being a member, having a spotlight on the next episode of Practical Institute, definitely connect with your chapter leaders. We'd love to see you.
Amazing. Thank you, Lauren. We really appreciate you introducing us to those members.
Definitely.
Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time. All right, guys. I'm ready to dive into it. Are you ready? We're going to get into what it takes to lead. I know that our AIJ community is excited to learn about how to navigate leadership expectations without clear guidance or support. So this topic feels very timely. So help me welcome organizational and operational expert and principal at Evangelist, Andy Epstein. Hi, Andy. It's great to have you here. We are so
great to be here. Thanks.
excited to get into the nitty gritty.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. All right. So, but before we jump in, I thought it might be nice to take a little temperature in the room. So, guys, we're going to show you a poll. We're going to ask you to vote in this poll. Let us know where you are in your career. Let me take a look. See, the poll is now active. We're going to see how everyone is and how you're doing and what you're looking for. So right now, it feels like we've got quite a few votes. So the question is, what career era are you in right now? Rising, pivoting, coasting, rebuilding, or it's complicated? Andy, it's updating in real time. And it looks like we've got quite a, maybe 30% about rising and close to 30% that's it's complicated. Am I seeing that right?
That looks about right. Complicated is true.
Oh my gosh, this is so insightful. So yeah, it looks like we've got 30% at the end here. It's complicated and 27% rising. We have a lot of people rebuilding, as many of us are these days. So this is, again, really, really helpful. Thank you so much for voting, everyone. And folks, if you have questions for Andy, just drop them into the chat and we will address them. So is everyone feeling good, excited to get started with the class? Let us know in the chat. And Andy, are we ready to begin?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, let's take it away.
So first, I'd like to thank specifically Rachel and Heather and the board at AIGA for this opportunity to present to the group here. It's a community that I have much love for, and I've been involved with AIGA for like way too many years than I'd want to admit. But I'd love to be able to pay it forward. Hopefully you'll find some value in the presentation. That's my goal. And I hope I can help you guys out in your path towards moving up the ladder, whether it's in a firm, an agency, or as in an in-house environment. My background is primarily in-house, but plenty of agency and design firm experience too. So you kind of got to experience it all. So ready to go with the presentation, Rachel. Thanks. So first of all, I just want to wish everybody a belated MLK Day. And the reason I'm bringing that up is actually germane to what we're going to be talking about, which is leadership, because Dr. King, that guy was like a leader that I think should be a North Star for all of us, not just because of his commitment to the world and the community and his integrity and his moral compass, but also something I'm going to talk about towards the middle of this presentation. That guy could communicate like nobody else in the world. Like anybody who could articulate his or her ideas as powerfully as he did to move people to risk their lives for a cause or a dream. If as leaders we have like an iota of that, props to us. We're doing a really good job. So let me jump right in. Okay. If you want to know a little bit about me, I'm sure you can check that out in the LinkedIn page. So I'm not going to go through my bona fides or street cred, but I do want to say, and I love this quote by Viola Davis, mentorship is telling the truth. Your job is to have been through the mud and then guide someone else through it so they don't get as dirty. You cannot truly be a guide without it. My point here is, and Rachel alluded to this in the beginning of the session today, can be really tough working in an organization of people because we're all bringing our best selves and sometimes a little bit of our baggage. And so as a leader, you kind of have to manage all that, and I'll speak to that as we go on. But in my case, over 35 plus years, tiptoeing or trying to through the mud, I made plenty of mistakes. Hopefully I learned from them, and hopefully the lessons I learned I can communicate today and maybe help all of you in moving forward and succeeding as leaders in the creative field within your organizations, whatever they may be. Trigger warning, right out of the gate, as soon as I was walking up to the office that I have here in our house to do my presentation, my wife shouted out to me, "Don't be too flippant," because she knows that sometimes I have an ability to be a little bit informal. And then she said, "Oh, forget it. You're just going to be who you are." So, but I use curse words a little bit here and there. And so two things. I'm being flippant in a way, or less formal than I might be in an organizational setting because of the setting we're in now. And we all are coming at this from the same place. But I wouldn't be this way, and I wouldn't encourage you to like throw out F-bombs or whatever at work, or be too informal, or at least when it's not appropriate to be informal, depending on who you're talking to. And I'll speak to that also. So a couple of F-bombs here and there, a couple 4-letter words or some curse words, but just a little bit for effect. Hopefully I don't offend anybody there. 3 chapters. We're going to start with chapter 1. We're going to talk about, well, let's suss out, like, are you really ready to be a manager? Do you really even want to be a manager? What kind of manager, what opportunities are there available for you? So we're going to go through that. The second part, which is probably the one that you might be the most interested in, is, well, how can you position yourself in your organization to be considered for a promotion or to be able to move up the ladder in a variety of ways that you might be able to do that. The last one, though, is a little bit about, well, what are best practices for leadership? And so, because if you get there, and I'll speak to this, you're going to need some support, and that's not unusual. I know I did, and pretty much every leader that I ever worked with needed support. Jumping right in, I fucking hated being a manager when I first became a manager. What had happened was I was working at Gund, the soft toy company. I was brought in to actually be a department of 1 and grew it to 14 people over time. This was in the mid 90s. And as the team grew, I love design, I love illustration. And as the team grew, I had less and less time to do that. And I was not happy about that. And my poor wife, St. Allie, God bless her, was like having to deal with me for about a year, being like thoroughly pissed off and trying to hoard the design projects for me, which was not at all a good leadership quality. I was really struggling with that. And so some of the things that were particularly frustrating for me, and I'm just putting this out there, that don't feel bad if it frustrates you as well. Well, Microsoft Office became my new Adobe Creative Cloud, or Excel. I use Excel all the time now. It blows my mind. Budgets. I can barely manage our own finances. Again, my wife, St. Allie, handles all of that. And so I really had to take a crash course in how to manage the finances of a 14-person plus team. HR mandates. I'm not going to go a lot into detail on HR, except to say that it can be challenging, the policy, the bureaucratic stuff. So I had to was challenged with that. Oh, becoming the CNO, which you will all be if you move into a leadership role. What the CNO is the Chief Negotiating Officer. I was working between clients and my team, between individual team members, between the clients who disagreed on how to move forward in a project. That's just a part of leadership. And that was not very easy to get used to when I first started. But finally, as I alluded to earlier, oh man, damn, no more design for Andy. I was working in a completely different way and different role as I moved up to managing and leading a team. Now, thank goodness, I did see the light, and I had an epiphany at Gund after it took a year or two. Specifically, what happened was I was late for work. I love Jersey, hate the Jersey traffic. I was late for work one day. This was in the fall of like the late 90s, and we were working on our spring line, getting ready for a big sales meeting to present all of our designs and whatnot. And so I'm walking into the loft. We were really lucky. We had a loft area that we could work in. And I was like kind of gobsmacked by what I saw in a good way. What I saw was like an incredible team operating in an incredible way. There were like 3 designers in one corner looking at a POP display that we were going to be proposing. There were a couple others gathered around a monitor looking at some catalog images or designs or layouts. We had the 3 big Epstein printers in the middle of the room cranking away, and our ops person and the admin haggling over the priorities. And I thought, and it was a really good vibe, and people were happy. They were glad to be there. And it struck me as like, man, I had something to do with this. This is like actually pretty cool. And I realized I was no longer designing physical artifacts, ads, web pages, whatever. I had the privilege, or have the privilege, of designing, creating teams and spaces for teams to thrive in. So here's the good stuff about being a leader. I hope I didn't scare you with the earlier slide. You get to affect positive change at scale in the way you not necessarily can do as an individual contributor. I got to forward the mission of my team and the greater organization. I got to develop and grow as a human being and a professional by adopting new skills and embracing new aptitudes. I got to create a space for people to achieve their ambitions and professional dreams, support my professional cohort. All of you guys, I've been involved in AIGA for years and years. Finally, though, pretty cool. If this is one of the things that's driving you, are definitely ready to be a leader, supporting others and becoming their best selves. So it's way not just about the artifacts that your team is creating. It's about creating a dynamic, an ecosystem within your team where they can thrive, and you can too. Now, this is a little bit of a caveat here. It's not about you when you become a leader. I mean, it is kind of, you got to take care of yourself. That's huge. You know how they say in the airplanes, like, you know, put on your mask before you put on the masks of your kid who's sitting, your child is sitting next to you. That's important. That's actually super important. But there's a couple other things you need to keep in mind. It's number one, and I'll be saying this over and over, it's about taking care of your team. And number two, it's forwarding your company's purpose and mission, or organization, firm, agency, whatever. That's why you're in a leadership role in a professional setting. number one priority is your team. Number two priority is to serve your company. Also want you guys to know, and I fell in this trap myself, you are not going to be a good leader because you're a kick-ass designer. That's going to be part of it, or creative, whatever area, whatever discipline you're in. That's one part, but there's two other parts that are just as or more important that are going to serve you well as a leader that you're going to absolutely have to have. You're going to have really good interpersonal skills, develop your EQ, and we'll talk more about that later. You're also going to have to be conceptual, and by that I mean you have to be strategic. You have to be able to understand the company's mission or your client's objectives, help your team translate that, understand it, and execute on it. You need to think in terms of the business and put what your team is doing in a larger context. So those are super big attributes or ways of being that you'll need to adopt to be successful as a leader. Super important here. And I'm guessing most of you may be aware of this. There are two paths you can follow to move up in your career, in your vocation. One is you can be a people manager. That's the one I think most people default to. You do their performance reviews, they report into you, you support them, you mentor them, you coach them, and you handle all the other things for your team, such as budgets and HR mandates and all that kind of good stuff. But there's another option, and depending on your organization, this already exists, or you could maybe pursue it yourself and be proactive about it, and that's the subject matter expert. So you're a killer designer, you love design, you love people, but it's just not your thing to be a people manager. Maybe you can become a subject matter expert, which means like you're the guru. And what is associated with that is you mentor and coach people within your specific discipline, but you don't manage them directly in the way a people manager would. In other words, you're not doing their performance reviews. You're not managing the budgets of the team. This is not stuff that you want to do. You just want to be expert and impart that expertise to other members of your team. You're the one who goes out and explores new ways of working, new technologies, new platforms. And here, I just noticed it the other day. I love this Adobe Summit ad for, literally they say, step into the role of a subject matter expert. And of course, that's becoming more expert at the Adobe Creative Cloud Suite, but it's other things as well. And that's another path. So something to be aware of if you're just not passionate about what it may mean to be what's considered a traditional manager or boss. So here, I'm going to dig into this slide, but quickly, because I threw in a ton of content that I hope I can get through in a way that you can glom onto. So you want to be a leader. Let's assess like what's going on in your brain. One thing I want to say is that rethinking your aspiration side, it's like, should I really be doing this? We're human. So some of the stuff in the right-hand corner, it's not bad that you have some of this going on in the back of your mind. Like, I like power. I like being a hero. I mean, I'll admit it, but that shouldn't be your priority. So let's just do the T-chart comparison. Thumbs up. You want to be you want to affect positive change for your team. If you're thinking that it's easier to be the boss, that's your reason. Newsflash, it isn't. And that is not a good reason to become a boss. I want to affect positive change in my entire organization. I like power. Again, if you're power hungry, if you're a micromanager, if you're like trying to plow yourself through the corporate politics and, really take over things, it's not a great leadership attribute. Now, you want a little bit of it. You need it to be able to be a good leader, but it's not a highest priority. I want to support others in their professional and personal growth. Perfect. Excellent. You're what's called a service leader. If you have the ego and you want to be the hero all the time, it's not going to work out well for you because oftentimes you also have to take the blame when things go south, but it won't be good for the team. Hopefully you enjoy solving strategic problems because that's what you're going to be doing in a leadership role. If you're still looking for those juicy design projects, when I did, to the detriment of my team, you might not want to move into a design role, a leadership role. You like to take on new challenges and grow. That's great. You're ready to move forward. If you're just moving out or moving up into a leadership role because you just don't like what you're doing right now, chances are it's not going to work out well for you. You won't be happy. You'd like to drive innovation in your particular discipline, especially for subject matter expert path. great. But if you're change averse, it's probably not a good idea to move into leadership. And I like recognition and want to make money. Guess what? It's totally okay. You can also like recognition and want to make more money. You really don't need to rethink it. It's just a human thing, and there's ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, here's some attributes or skills like you see on a resume, like your skills or after the responsibilities they have on a JD. Ready, set, go is to the left side. You want to tap the brakes. Some of this is a little bit of a overlap with the prior slide, but worth repeating. You're open to investing time and mental and emotional effort. It's going to take a lot, more than you did as an individual contributor. So you're good with that, and you're looking forward to that. Great. If you think it's going to be easier than your current role, tap the brakes. You generally care about others and provide them with autonomy. Being a good delegator, perfect. If you are a micromanager or a command and control kind of person, and you like telling people what to do, may not work so well. Not necessarily a good leadership trait. You're adaptable, can quickly pivot and thrive on change and uncertainty. Look, this is the deal. You're going to experience change more as a leader than you will as an individual contributor, because there are things and responsibilities you're going to have to take on depending on how your business or your company or your design firm pivots, that you're going to need to get your head around, and to some degree maybe buffer your team, because you want them focused on their expertise and what they're great at doing. You're looking to grow personally, professionally. Mentioned that before. If you already think you're the expert and the smartest person in the room, you're going to have some trouble moving into a leadership role. It's good not to have much of an ego, but you should have some. We're all human. But you got a huge one. I mean, you guys got to be straight up with yourselves when you're going into this assessment, because I'm not kidding. The tap the brakes column, if you're not honest about that and you move into a role and you're finding yourself a lot on that right-hand side of this T chart, you're just not going to be happy in the role that you're in. If you're nervous about becoming a manager, that's a good thing. You should be, because it takes a lot of new skills and a lot of growth to get there. If you're not nervous, something's wrong. You really don't understand what you're walking into. Pretty decent communication skills, huge, huge, huge. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. If you really have a problem either communicating, and it's totally legit, writing emails or speaking in public, and I've worked with kick-ass designers who would never ever want to get into this side of the chart. That's okay. Just know that it's not going to be for you to move in, especially a people manager role, maybe subject matter expert. Dabbled in Excel and PowerPoint, good. You're going to need to use those tools among others. If you're just addicted to Creative Cloud and you can't give it up, it's going to be a problem. Huge, 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 high EQ, strong interpersonal skills. If you're a designer, and I know many people like this, I used to be like this. If you rather be behind your monitor and you work best alone, really, 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 think twice and tap the brakes about becoming a leader. All that said, okay, so we went through the assessment stuff. Let's get to the meat of the matter here. Well, how do I get there? What can you do to position yourselves within an organization that'll have you be considered for moving up in the organizational hierarchy, whether, again, it's as a subject matter expert or as a people manager. So let's jump right into this good stuff. Be present. I know it's kind of like Zen kind of thing, but it really works well in a business environment. You really got to be paying attention to what's going on around you to look for opportunities. When I say you don't really know who you are, what I mean by that is as you move into situations that come up because you're in an organization working with other people every day, sometimes you can be surprised at, in either a good way or bad way, how you respond to a situation. So, you got to keep your eye on the ball as to who you need to be without losing your authenticity, integrity. And I'll speak to that later, but who you need to be in order to be able to suss out like where there's opportunities. So I got this little Buddha guy in a business suit, and here's what we're talking about. You want to look for opportunities. That's after you've laid your foundation, which I'll talk about in a moment. You want to be able to pivot quickly. We've talked about change. Let me put it this way. There have been times in my career where I thought I was going off path, but it seemed like it was a good idea, and it ended up being a good thing. And it was moving in a path that I would have never anticipated. But I looked at what was going on in the situation. I looked how I could leverage who I was or who I could be to be successful in that new opportunity. And I went for an opportunity that I may not have ever thought about, 2 or 3 years ago. So there may be a knock at your opportunity door that you might want to close real quickly because it didn't jive with what your plan was. But your plans, it really helps to have your plan be flexible.
Hey, Andy, can you hear me?
What's that?
I was just making sure that you can hear me. Yeah, I want to just tell you a little bit about what's happening in the chat. Lauren was saying that one of the best parts of management is supporting others. And yeah, Kara says that we empower designers to be SMEs. Heather was saying Andy's giving us our own personal pros and cons list. So yeah, there's some great comments. I just wanted to keep you apprised of what's happening in the chat.
I appreciate that, Rachel. So my takeaway is that so far I'm kind of on the right path here. So I will continue.
Keep going. Thanks.
Thanks, Rachel. Okay, let me go back to the deck here. Okay, embrace change. Talked about change, a lot of that going on. Look, it's a reality. I don't care if you're in a 5-person design firm or a 100-person in-house group working in a larger organization that could be kind of dysfunctional, which can be a challenge. We'll talk about that. Organizational politics are reality. And you could try and pretend or say, nah, I don't want to be a part of that. If you're going to move into a leadership role, you at least have to understand the rules of the game. I hate to say it like that. Again, you need to be authentic and you need to present your real self and you need to hold on to your integrity and your moral compass. But you also have to understand that there is such a thing as organizational or corporate politics, as it's often called. By acknowledging it, it helps you work with it in a way that you can with integrity. So it's there, and it's something that we all have to, unfortunately, to some degree, deal with. Find trusted advisors to help keep you focused and on the right path. Finally, trust your gut. Great book. If you haven't read it, Click by Malcolm Gladwell really talks a lot about there are different types of intelligences we have in our, if that's a word, in our psyche, in our heads. And we need to trust them sometimes in a way that may not seem logical to other people in the room, but actually are the right decisions to make or the right way to get to the right decisions. I love this quote, which is at times, according to Perplexity, I love that tool, either Peter Drucker or Abraham Lincoln said. I tend to think this was Peter Drucker, but I love this quote. The best way to predict the future is to create it. So if you're predicting your future is going to be a leader, there are proactive ways for you to create it. There's 12 of them here. I'm going to go through them. Hopefully you'll find these helpful. One is take on stretch assignments. I'll speak to all of these in a moment in individual slides. So I'll move through this quickly. 2 is act as a backup. 3 is look for mentorship opportunities. 4, speak up in meetings. 5, leverage performance reviews. 6, support new initiatives as a steward. 7, sometimes you got to change job. We'll talk about that in a moment. Support your boss. You should always do that anyway. Build relationships across your organization. Don't stay siloed within your creative team. Be active in the design community. This gives you street cred with people within your organization. Plus, it's the right thing to do. Take advantage of company training opportunities if they exist. And finally, and I have it highlighted, and I spoke to it when I was talking about Dr. King, huge. You've got to hone your communication skills. This is my dog, Mad Max. I call him Max the Beast. When he was a puppy, he literally took a piece of the siding off the side of our house. Thank God he's calmed down. But I'm using him as a mnemonic device because I'm going to go through these 12 things, ways to enhance your opportunities for leadership. And I thought some fun AI generated images using Max kind of as a inspiration might help you glom on to what I'm talking about. So let's jump right in. Thank you, Max. Thank God he's with the daycare today. Otherwise, you'd hear him barking in the background. So take on stretch assignments. Obviously, I shouldn't say obviously. Hopefully, there are opportunities where you can work with your manager to take on something that puts you out of your comfort zone, but shows A, that you're willing to do it, B, that you can do it, and C, that you killed it, and you're like maybe ready to move up to the next level. So we could talk about any questions you may have specific to these ideas, but pretty much in a nutshell, that's what we're talking about. When those opportunities present themselves, you should run for them, run to them. Second, act as a backup. So if you're working with a colleague and for some reason they can't make a meeting and have to present, if you jump in, A, it stretches you like a stretch assignment to take on something that maybe you haven't done in the past, but B, it also shows your willingness to support others within your organization, another great leadership quality. Look for mentorship opportunities, especially for if you're looking to go up that SME path, the subject matter expert path. Again, it shows your willingness to support others, and it also showcases your expertise. Not sure who's the mentor there, the Chihuahua or the Hound, but anyway. Speak up and meet. This is big. I've been in so many meetings with just unbelievable designers and creatives of multiple disciplines who are uncomfortable in meetings in speaking up with whomever it is. And it's really important, and I'm going to speak to this later, for people to hear how you articulate your ideas in words. I mean, I know we design artifacts that are supposed to be communication based, but there's this whole other layer of communication that you need to do. Please don't do what this guy does. Make sure you wear pants, and don't jump up on the table. But it's really good when you have an opportunity to contribute something. Don't be shy. Don't have that imposter syndrome. Even if you have the imposter syndrome, move past it. Leverage performance reviews. It's a great opportunity. A lot of times performance reviews, if you have them in your organization, there's a section in those where they talk about your career, where you get to talk about your career goals. Hey, throw it right out there. I want to move up. I want to become a leader, people manager. I want to become an SME. Let your boss know that you're excited and willing to do that. If there's a new initiative, let's say there's a new workflow being introduced or a new project management tool, and there's a need for people to become expert in that, to be able to support the rest of the team as a steward, another great opportunity to showcase, A, you're willing to step up and support the team, but B, you're adaptable to change and have the expertise to be able to succeed in the role as a steward. Sometimes, and I mean, there's only so many leadership roles within an organization. Sometimes you need to leave. And, if you make it clear why you're leaving so you don't burn bridges, that that there's only a limited opportunity for you to advance in your career in your current job, hopefully you have the kind of boss and management team that will understand and appreciate and respect that. Support your boss. That's an easy one. Miss Fluffy Paws, she's definitely one you want to help through challenging times. It's a little bit about managing up. Nothing wrong with that. Not brown nosing. We're just trying to show that we're a team player and we have what it takes to be able to support our boss at a higher level. This one's a big one. You're going to have to work, if you're in a leadership role, with a variety of leaders in other departments. So if you could start to form relationships with either the individual contributors in other departments or the leaders of those other departments, however that shows up, it's a great way to show that you are taking a holistic view of the organization and that you should be considered to move up into a leadership role. No brainer. Be active in the design community and show your create street cred. And when you win awards, that actually clients and upper management do pay attention to that. If you're contributing to blogs, if you have a podcast, if you're in a leadership role like an AIGA, broadcast that to others in your organization who may be considering you for a new role, a higher level role. If there's company training opportunities, no brainer, take advantage of those. Finally, and this is where I'm going to spend some time here, hone your communication skills. This is huge. And I'm going to jump into the reason why. First, lucky you become a salesperson. You need to, both as a leader, but as a potential leader or leader wannabe, you're going to have to be able to sell yourself, sell your ideas, sell your team. And I'm just going to briefly mention, and you can Google this, feature advantages, benefits is a way of selling an idea. It's in I think it's the American Marketing Association has this whole description of it. Basically, features are, okay, what are the brass tacks? Let's say it's your team. You've got kick-ass designers, you got the best equipment, blah, blah, blah. Somebody's looking at you like, so what? Then you can say in the advantages section, well, our great team, they can, and our great equipment allows us to create excellent creative deliverables in a short amount of time. Okay, that's nice. Love it. Benefits, faster speed to market of marketing materials, higher profits, things that your larger organization can relate to that are their goals. So you're in sales. This guy, I like that houndstooth jacket. I'd like to get a hold of that. Anyway, he looks like Danny DeVito, but let's move on. Talking heads on the right. I hope you guys all know I'm not dating myself too much. Get it? Communication, talking heads. Anyway, communication is the key. Words, not visuals here, are the currency of collaboration in a business setting. So how effectively we all speak and write will absolutely impact the trust you gain, the respect you get, your success in selling your ideas, your success in selling your designs, your success in selling your teams, your success in selling yourselves. And that's just the name of the game. And you can do this with integrity. You don't have to be like a used car salesman, like in the previous slide, but you have to be able to powerfully articulate your ideas, your thoughts, your dreams, your passions in a way that resonates with whoever your audience is. Let's dig into this a little bit here. So the deal, I mean, if we're designers, right, we're like really paying attention to the design elements that we're putting into whatever the artifact is. So how you communicate verbally or in written form should be just as well thought out and designed as your visual work. It needs the same amount of care and attention. Your words, your sentences, they have color, tone, gradations. Obviously, I'm speaking metaphorically here, but it's real. And design the communication for your audience, huge. I've seen a lot of, we can tend to be a little bit informal, I think, and that serves us well. But we shouldn't be speaking to someone in the C-suite the same way we might be speaking to someone on our team. That doesn't mean that you betray your values or integrity. You just say something in a way that will resonate with your audience. And so here we go. The T chart here, effective communication is not about self-expression. We can do that with our artwork at home, or, whatever. But what it is about is speaking to the issues, because people in a business setting don't necessarily respond to your feelings. You can have opinions, especially if you can back them up with rationale, but you need to make sure whenever you're speaking with someone, you kind of go light on the adjectives and heavy on quantifiable data. Saying what you think your audience wants to hear. It's not about that. I am a people pleaser. I still am. And sometimes I would say stuff like, I'm just agreeing with the president here, but I know in my gut that this is not a good idea. That is not the way to go. But that doesn't mean you get oppositional. What you do is you say things that you believe to be true and in the best interest of your team or your company or your organization in a way that will resonate with your audience. So you adapt your style, but not the content. Finally, of course, I'm talking a lot here, but I guess because it's a presentation, it's okay. Effective communication is way more about listening, because otherwise you have no clue. Going back to that be present slide, you have no clue what's actually going on around you. And if you don't understand what's happening around you, you don't understand the feedback you're getting from a client when they say the logo needs to be bigger or anything like that. You don't absorb all that and try to dig into it and understand and listen to people around you or the environment around you. You're not going to be able to make appropriate decisions, because you're not going to be operating in what's really happening in front of you. Some tactical stuff. Email. God, please use spell check. It's so easy. And if you don't, at best, it makes you look like you're sloppy. At worst, it just makes you look like you're dumb. So use spell check in everything you do. Use a salutation in email. Don't just throw off, and usually mirror the salutation. Sorry, I'm getting so tactical here, but I just see so many people in our profession kind of default to some bad habits. So forgive me if I sound like I'm scolding. I don't mean to. But use a salutation. You might want to mirror the salutation you get from someone who's emailing you. Try not to abbreviate or use a lot of corporate jargon or acronyms, and use a signature. And if you're going to be out of the office, and make sure that both your voice messages and your email messages are really clear about what the heck's going on and who your backup is. Voice, have a nice voicemail message if this is appropriate. Don't let that robotic person like say your message for you. Geez, don't eat on the phone. Everybody can hear it, even if you have your camera turned off. Don't multitask while on a call. People know it. Now, people may hear you typing at your computer. If you're doing that, you may want to, because they may get annoyed and think like, was this person really listening to me? If you're using it to take notes, let them know up front. That's totally cool. Do not mix and match. This is like a big thing that I've seen people fall into the trap of. Some really important conversation starts as an email chain, and then it switches to Slack or some text-based platform. People get confused, information gets lost. Stick with whatever platform you're using to communicate all the way through till the resolution. Okay, my gatekeeper's dead. I've been doing this for 35, 40 years working in organizations, and here's the deal. I learned this from two really smart account execs. If it feels good, don't say it. In other words, somebody says something that really gets under your skin and you've got a great zinger to throw back at them, you'll feel really good for like 20 seconds, and then you're going to have 3 months of hell. So don't do it. And practice the 3 R's. Again, it's something I learned from an account exec. Retreat, reflect, and then respond. Really good advice. But let's take a break here and pressure test. What does gatekeeper functionality really look like? And let's see what you guys pick out of the multiple choice. So the client says, please make the logo bigger and change the background to fuchsia. Your response should be, okay, so you went to which design school? B, could we dig into this a bit? I want to get a sense of what's driving your request. C, no. D, thank you, sir. May I have another? Hopefully you picked B. Let's move into the internal politics or internal stuff. So you got a creative director, and he or she goes, that's not what I was looking for. I know there's no brief, but remember, we discussed the field should be informal, but in a formal kind of context. Your response should be, sprechen Sie English? B, I'm struggling here. Can you give me some examples of what you're looking for or more direction from the client? C, no. D, thank you, sir. I think you know which is the right answer. And finally, another client one, my favorite, and yours probably. I like where this is headed, but I need to know if you can have it done by Tuesday instead of Friday. And can we trim off some hours to get the cost down? There's definitely more work coming after this project, though. Your response should be A, can I have some fries with that shit sandwich? B, I'm glad we're moving in the right direction. I may be able to shave a day off and get it to you Thursday, but my costs are fixed given the quality of the deliverable. I know you're expecting pretty rational response. C, no. D, thank you, sir. May I have another? Pretty clear stuff. Okay, let's move into chapter 3 because I know we're short on time here. But some leadership best practices should you move into that role. Props to you. Okay. Unfortunately, you probably can't expect a lot of formal training. Gardner put this like unbelievable factoid out. 85% of new people managers receive no formal training. Holy cow. This is like a big difference in terms of your role. So find online and live leadership training, find a mentor, engage with the greater design community, subscribe to leadership-focused newsletters and sites, and build your own group network. Now, acknowledge in the midst of all this that you and your team are different because you are. And I'll tell you why that's important. For you guys, most likely you're innovative, empathetic, apolitical, emotional, visual communicators, early adopters. That's what makes us good at what we do. That's not that other people don't have some of those qualities, but we have it in spades. Now, this is more important in a way. What are the business realities for your team? Geez, our volume in our teams varies tremendously from day to day, week to week, even hour to hour, unlike most other departments. And I would say the only department that we're at all kind of like is R&D within a large organization if you're an in-house group. We have varied inputs, varied outputs. On any given day, you could be doing a website, a poster, packaging. That requires a way of working that's different than other groups. Complex and nuanced requests, multiple stakeholders, that can be a killer, resolving or reconciling feedback. Lots of rush projects. Again, all different maybe than what other groups require. And what that means is that the same mandates that an organization places on other departments may not be applicable to you. So if you have unique business needs, stand up, ask for them, and get them. Customer is not always right, especially if they're promoting their particular brand over the equity of the larger corporate logo. Client bad behavior is just bad behavior. It's not acceptable. Don't get gaslighted. Big, understand and articulate your value. You need to do this constantly. We talked about that in the selling slide. Okay, so we all know this guy, Uncle Milty. But so who here is passionate about, and I'm sure you all are, typography, color theory, illustration photography, branding, marketing strategy, concepting, right? That's what makes us good at what we do. Just lost my earbud here, sorry. So here's the deal. Nobody cares. These are not the priorities for other people within the organization, sales, finance, procurement. So what do they care about? Like this bean counter. This is what you need to say, put at least some focus on: cost savings, profits and sales, marketing effectiveness, speed, and client service, AKA, could you do my job for me? So these are priorities outside of what we're passionate about. So you need to understand and mandate your purpose. You need to, of the business. You need to learn the language of business and speak it. You need to dress for success and please behave. Make sure your gatekeeper is alive and well and healthy. I want to just focus on the highlighted part. Organizations fail to choose the candidate with the right talent for the manager job a whopping 82% of the time. This is Jim Clifton, chairman and CEO of Gallup, the most respected survey organization probably in the world. He's saying this. What does that mean for you? It means that there's a lot of leaders in your organization who may not be competent and worse, may be toxic. What does this mean? Your hardest job will be not to manage your team because they're on your side and you get to coach and mentor them and, you know, make them a well-oiled machine. Your hardest job as a leader is going to be to manage the other so-called leaders in your organization. You want to be one of the 18%ers, right? But you're going to have to deal with these 82%ers. 4 fundamental words of great leadership. This is it. You got this down. You're like, I don't know, 75% of the way there. And it doesn't have to do with EQ and this. This is what it has to do with. I have your back. That's your main job for your team. You got that right, your team is going to function well. So you want to create a microculture. The 2 pillars for that microculture within the larger organizational culture. You get some control over what the environment for your team is like when you're a leader of that team. So 2 pillars, they're more, I've got your back. I just mentioned being entrepreneurial, having agency, giving your team autonomy. That's huge. Fun is not a 4-letter word, but fear is. This is huge. In business, fun is a 4-letter word. I'm saying it's like a curse word. Like they think it's bad. Fun is bad. But fear really is a 4-letter word. And there's no fun in fear, but there's plenty of fear in companies. So fun is not on the agenda, but it should be. And this is why. Happy workers are 13% more productive. 90% are highly engaged if they're on a fun team. And organizations that promote and encourage fun in the workplace report higher employee job retention. These are quantifiable reasons why if someone starts to go and, you know, get in your face and say, you guys aren't serious enough, blah, blah, blah. You can say, well, I got some news for you. This really works for our team. I'm not going to go into the anecdote because of timing about Alfie Isaacs. What I will say, and what I'm trying to say in this slide is cut yourself a lot of slack if you move into a leadership role. I guarantee you're going to make mistakes. You may even make some questionable judgment calls from a value or integrity perspective. Sometimes you're going to drink the Kool-Aid, but we're all human and we are going to make mistakes. And if you've got to get engaged in self-flagellation, give yourself 5 minutes at the end of the day to beat yourself up, then get your shit together because your team is counting on you to take care of them. Ulrich, my friend from Sweden, told me when I showed him this presentation, he said, well, you left out like what are the big 3 takeaways. So here they are from my perspective. You may have a different sense of what resonates with you. Suss out your goals and strengths and address them as need be. Big one, communication is a key. And finally, be a service leader. Some self-promotion here. I've got a book out, The Corporate Creative. I have a LinkedIn Learning course, Succeeding as an In-House Creative. My site is evangelist.com. And you can always check me out. Look at that cute guy on my LinkedIn webpage. A final word, guys, gals, all of you, you do you. You stay authentic to yourself. You can be great at what you do. You can affect amazing change and take care of your team just by being the very best self of who you are. And finally, just to bookmark this book and this presentation, I talked about MLK. Love's what it's really all about. I know that sounds super, super corny, but I've loved every team I've worked for, not in a romantic sense, but with having incredible respect and understanding that what a privilege it is to take care of them and to support them. And so if that's what you're all about, if you can engage and embrace that level and that kind of love, you've got it nailed. So thank you all. And I guess there may be time for questions. I know I went over. Sorry, Rachel.
All good. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Andy. So we're going to take just a little break. We're going to do a quick pop quiz, and then we'll come back for some questions. Thank you. Everybody was so excited about this. All right. So we'll take a quick, tiny break. Thanks, Andy. All right, AIGA members, it's time to take a quick pop quiz. All right. So this question will not be graded, but if you answer correctly, you could win a 30-minute office hours session with Andy Epstein. So you want to drop your answer in the chat. Okay, so here it is. What are the two legitimate leadership paths for designers? All right. Are they A, creative director and design manager? Is it B, in-house and agency? Is it C, people manager and subject matter expert? Or is it D, visionary and executor? All right, you guys know what to do. Get your answers in the chat. We're going to choose one winner randomly. So meanwhile, let's bring Andy back and we'll get to some of these questions. Thank you, Andy. This was a great class so far, incredibly helpful. So let's see the questions that we got in right now. All right. Everyone's answering. Okay, so question one is, John was saying the corporate politics I'm exercising is a tough pill to swallow, especially when it gets in the way of the team's ability to design. I've always become frustrated and feel helpless, red as anger, and then I start getting burnt out. Any words of advice for me? I'm thinking about leaving the company.
Wow. Okay. So that's an option, right? I mean, sometimes you just don't have the opportunity to affect the kind of change you want to make, and it's time to look for a better opportunity. But if there is an opening, if you find that opening, then you have to be proactive and actually approach individuals within the organization who have the authority or the ability to affect change that you can't. And that means like really moving way out of your comfort zone and approaching those folks who do have that ability to make the change that you want to see to get them to affect that. Now, you got to be really careful about that, because if it's unfortunately one of the 82%ers that you have to go to, you have to be really careful how you couch your request or your opinion. If they're not one of the 82%ers, hey, great, you can have a really candid conversation. But as I mentioned earlier, and it'd be too long of an answer to get into here, know your audience, know what you want to say. Don't conflate different problems. Stay focused on whatever one issue at a time, because I've seen a lot of people come to me with those kind of challenges. And I'm like, whoa, you've got like 3 things going on here. Let's like divide it up. So do that for the person you're speaking to. By the way, rehearse before you go to that person if you're going to have that conversation, because you're going to be nervous, right? And so to have an opportunity to kind of like just hear what it sounds like coming out of your mouth will be helpful when you go into those conversations. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, John, for asking that question. Guys, we're going over. Apologies. So we have one more question, then we will answer the winner for the quiz. Martinet says working 100% remote poses a challenge in building relationships across organizations. Any recommendations?
Yeah, sure. One is just to try and be informal as possible with the right people, right? And I found, and I've read thought leadership around this. Allow opportunities, especially at the beginning or the end of the any kind of calls that you're on, to talk about personal issues. But the other thing is, particularly if you're in a leadership role, is to reach out, not in a way like you're micromanaging, but reach out daily, every other day, once a week, to take the temperature of everybody on your team, either individually or as a group. It's about consistency and persistence in keeping those lines of communication open. Because to your point, it's not like you're going to walk by them in a actual brick and mortar setting.
Right.
So.
Right. Thank you, Martine, for asking that question. Thank you, Andy. I really appreciate this. I learned so much today, and I hope you did too, everybody. Thank you so much, Andy Epstein, principal at Evangelist, for leading.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks.
I want to just also thank all of you for being here and showing up for yourselves and this community. So before we go, let's announce the winner of the 30-minute coaching session with Andy. Our producer selected the name, and the winner is Liliana. Congratulations, Liliana. Liliana, please email Heather at togetherby.design to coordinate timing. All right, so that's it for today. Our next class resumes on February 17 with instructor and recruiter Josh Silverman, teaching us how to find work that's worth it. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. I'm your host, Rachel Elnar, and we will see you in the next class. Bye-bye.